I was born in 1934,
Mm-hmm.
and you were asking about the Big Depression,
Yeah.
which I know took place in 1929.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents told me about it years later, when I was a kid growing up, what it had been like for them. My father was a lawyer, and my mother was a social worker. And most of us would know that a lawyer makes more money than a social worker. Except during the Depression, the people who were desperately needed were social workers to take care of people who all of a sudden found themselves poverty stricken with nothing. And my mother was really needed in her work, whereas my father as a lawyer was just scraping by. It didn't affect me. It didn't affect me except in one way. I really do believe that my parents, my father particularly, knew what it might be like to lose everything. He saw clients of his just hopeless. They were in total despair, over the fact that they'd lost everything. And my mother had to help people like that too. So I grew up thinking, always be thankful for everything you've got. You don't know how lucky you are. And that was a refrain that went on and on and on when I was a child growing up.
Oh, well, I was totally oblivious to the whole thing. And as I said just a few minutes ago, life was just what it was like. You're born into it, and you're a child, and that's all you know. And, we never went hungry. We always had a place to stay. So, I mean, it really didn't affect, and I didn't even know about the Depression until many years later when I read about it. I think, I think the stories I remember best are things like my father's mother, my grandmother, making moonshine in the bathtub because it was also during Prohibition.
I bet, I
So
bet.
once a week, the local cop would stop by and he'd give him a mason jar full of moonshine. My father didn't take a bath for over a year, he said.
There was always.
Well, I'm sure he did sponge baths,
Oh,
but
what about the heyday of Al Capone?
that was another factor.
That
They had a movie
crime, yeah.
about Al Capone's life that was made, oh, I don't know, about when I was 10 years old or something like that. And it was banned in Chicago. You could
Really?
not show that movie in Chicago for a number
Whoa.
of years. And I never understood why. I guess people were just frightened or whatever, maybe. But big movie about one of the biggest gangsters of all time, and
Yeah.
it was banned in Chicago,
Where did you play?
in the streets.
Well, I lived in a suburban area all my life. First in a suburb called Shorewood, and then in what I think is a better suburb called Whitefish Bay, and right along Lake Michigan. So the beaches were just maybe a 5 minute walk from wherever it was that I lived. And I always felt, I guess I always felt privileged. I always felt lucky and happy, kind of a happy kid. Um, I can't, other than my father going on and saying, "You're not grateful enough. You don't know what you have. You don't know how lucky you are." Uh, and then it was sort of this, I walked to school without any shoes on.
Well,
Not quite,
well, I
but
did
I'd
that.
roll my eyes and think, oh, here we go
16
again.
miles.
But
I still
I,
walk without my shoes.
but I never felt deprived of anything at all. And I guess I was a lucky kid.